Welcome to Real People Weekly News. I am Olivia. In the next 2 minutes, we will look at the top stories of the past week, stories that made news, and give you a glimpse of what the party has been up to. Let's begin with the top stories. For the week of August 15 to 19, we saw the following. In relation to the contamination of the rare cobra, we saw opposition leader Mark Golding calling for an overhaul of the Natural Resources Conservation Authority Act. Golding said the fine under the NRCA Act is a maximum of $50,000. This is minuscule and is unlikely to be a deterrent of multinational companies such as Windalco. The opposition leader charged that Windalco would have cauterized the years-long issue of overflowing effluent if the law governing their operations had teeth. He also questioned the independence of the National Environment Planning Agency, which operates out of the office of the Prime Minister. Opposition spokesman on national security Senator Peter Bunting is insisting that the government apologize to the Jamaicans for allegedly misleading the country before seeking political consensus on crime. The PNP is a party that will always do anything that will positively impact on the safety and security of Jamaicans. So we are not going to say no, but before reconciliation and before forgiveness must come repentance. Come to the country and apologize. Then we can talk about finding consensus and moving forward, Bunting said. He criticized the government for not continuing Unite for Change, an anti-crime initiative launched in December 2013 by the National Security Ministry when the PNP formed the government. The campaign had sought to empower each citizen to take back crime from the clutches of criminal elements. Jamaica's opposition leader Mark Golding commended Barbados' decision to cap gas prices, as he continues to criticize the Holness administration's response to Jamaica struggling with rising food and energy costs. Golding said, "This is what cushioning the crisis looks like, as it regards the rapid hike in gas prices this year. The JA government's paltry, targeted effort is simply inadequate." Vice President of the party, Ian Hales, who was selected as chairman for the constituency of Westmoreland Western on Sunday, has served notice that the party intends to reclaim its former stronghold. Hales said unity was the key to accomplishing this goal. Mayor of Spanish Town, Norman Scott, is accusing the government of being insensitive to environmental concerns against a backdrop of complaints by residents living near the Dovecot Memorial Park and Cemetery in St. Catherine. Scott said, "I am saying the Prime Minister is the minister responsible for NEPA. If NEPA can come and meet with the people and they can show scientifically that the area is to be used for the cemetery, can be done without contaminating the water because the aquifer passes directly in that area." As the mass migration of the nation's teachers continues unabated, the opposition People's National Party (PNP) is calling on government to break its silence and communicate their plan to address the issue. Speaking at the PNP's Trelawney Southern constituency last Sunday, former Clarendon North Western MP Richard Azan spoke on the concern of the mass teacher migration with school beginning next month. Azan stated, "In the next week or two, school going open. And comrades, many of the schools are going to be without teachers." The amount of teachers leaving Jamaica, and I don't hear the Ministry of Education saying anything about it. They say some subjects, they won't have them again come September. He noted that our better teachers are going away, and we are not talking about it. Wrapping up the week, we saw a press conference in education with Senator Damian Crawford, Shadow Minister of Education and Training, and Rasheen Roper Robinson, Junior Spokesperson on Education and Training. Crawford lamented, "If there's ever an example of the incompetence of the Jamaica Labour Party government in the execution of their mandate, the current unpreparedness for the reopening of the public school system is one such." During a PNP press conference at the party's headquarters last Wednesday, following news that schools across the island are short on both staff and equipment to properly conduct their duties.
We start with the high migration of teachers and the threat that creates for our education system. Multiple news reports, as was indicated by the junior shadow spokesperson, have reported the dilemma being faced by many Jamaican schools due to the migration of teachers since the end of last term. The numbers range in the reports from 400 to 800, with many principals still experiencing anxiety with the knowledge and whispers of others about to leave but having not yet communicated with their institutions.
Last Thursday at the People's National Party's Manchester North Eastern Constituency Conference, opposition spokesman on national security Senator Peter Bunting says regardless of criticism, he will continue to verbally attack the government for the failures. He went on to say,
well, you know, if I could borrow some words from the former leader and Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller, me, no afraid of no man, no God, no right. Whether you own media company, whether you're a private sector clinical, whether you are G2, KYF, K, whatever you are, youngest or oldest, I will continue speaking truth to power on behalf of the people of Jamaica.
In a statement last Friday afternoon, Senator Dr. Floyd Morris, opposition spokesperson on housing and sustainable living, condemned the new policy announced by the government to stop providing further interest rate subsidies to certain categories of contributors to the National Housing Trust, NHT, including public sector workers and persons with disabilities. Morris said this is a most retrograde step being taken by the Andrew Holness-led government, which is demonstrating an insensitivity to the needs of the Jamaican people at this most challenging time. Morris went on to say,
I'm really horrified by the latest policy position of the government and the Prime Minister, because the government cannot remove subsidy to some foundational contributors to the NHT, civil servants, police, and persons with disabilities who are vulnerable citizens of our society. And the police and the civil servants and others are giving very important contribution to the Jamaican society. And you're telling me that the government is going to remove that policy decision to providing a subsidy on interest rate to these individuals. But yet still, the government can find $18 million to subsidize an election campaign for an official government minister.
And with that, we wrap up the last week on Real People Weekly News. I am Olivia. Until next week.